It was 15 years ago when I was in elementary school. In April, we had a class change, and my new homeroom teacher was a young woman named Miss Miss. At lunchtime, Miss told a girl sitting next to me, Nada, to eat her school-provided lunch. Miss Maria Hurst, you don't pay for school lunch, so please don't eat it, she said. Maria Hurst, sitting next to me, was a scrawny, skinny girl who always wore tattered clothes. Apparently, her family was poor, and her parents had not paid for school lunches since last fall, as I later overheard from gossip. Despite this, she was able to eat school lunch the previous year. I felt sorry for her when I saw her sitting there with her head down, alone, with nothing served on her desk. But during lunchtime, Miss also ate in the same classroom. Unable to share my lunch with her, I left some bread wrapped in a napkin and secretly hid it in my desk. After lunch, when Emma Smith had left the classroom, I handed it to Maria. "You can eat this," I said. "What can I thank you, Brian?" she asked. At that time, I was an outcast among my classmates and had no friends in the same class. Since then, I started to talk to Maria. When I came home from school that day, I told my mother about Maria's family situation. "Mom, please make a lunchbox for Maria," I asked. "Oh, poor her. If she can't eat her school lunch, it's not good for her physical development, and I'm sure she'll be too hungry to study." "That's no problem at all. I make your father's lunchbox every day anyway, so it doesn't matter for one more person," she replied. My mother gladly agreed. The next day at lunchtime, when I handed my mother's homemade lunchbox to Maria, her eyes widened in surprise. "Here, my mom wanted me to give you this," I said. "Is this for me?" she asked. "Yes, I told her about you, and she said to take it to you," I replied. She ate her lunch hurriedly before Miss came back to the classroom. It turned out that Maria's house was in the same direction as mine, so I decided to go home with her from that day on. As we walked, Maria told me her personal story. "My father doesn't work and spends money on gambling. He takes all the money that my mother earns from working too. That's why they're having a hard time making ends meet and are in debt," she said. Seeing her wearing the same tattered clothes every day, I took pity on her. Our classmates just looked at her from a distance. It was the same for her too. Maria and I had no friends. After that, we started meeting up in the morning and going to school together. In class, someone asked, "Are you guys dating?" But I tried not to let it bother me. I was never very good at talking to people, but for some reason, I felt comfortable talking to Maria. I didn't realize it myself, but I guess I was lonely without friends. I felt very happy to be able to talk with her. We talked about many things on our way to and from school, discussing our families, favorite fruits, animals, homework, and TV shows we had watched the day before. I discovered that she loves cats, but she can't keep them in her own home. She mentioned that although she couldn't keep a cat at home, her only pleasure was to occasionally visit a nearby shrine, which was a popular hangout for stray cats. "I have a cat at my place, so why don't you come check it out sometime?" I offered. "You don't mind?" "I'll go," she replied. When I brought her home after school that day, my mother welcomed her with open arms. Maria's eyes lit up when a mongrel cat appeared. "So cute. What's his name?" she asked. "It's Tiger." "Here, Tiger," I called. Maria looked very happy as she held the cat, let it play with her thighs, and fed him treats. Seeing her big smile, which she never showed at school, made me kind of happy too. The evening came quickly, and my mother prepared dinner for her. "Maria, can you tell me your home phone number?" "I'll call your mother to let her know you are here with us," my mother said. She called her house and talked to someone on the other end of the phone for a while. Since that day, Maria had been having dinner at our house every night. Her mother came home late from work every night, and her father, though at home, never did any housework. So Maria often ate dinner at late hours. My mother agreed with her parents to take care of her meals. Every day after school, Maria came to my house. We spent every day until dinner time doing homework and playing with the cat. But after about a year, Maria had to move out of the city. Her parents divorced, and she and her mother had to go to her mother's family home in another state. Before the move, Maria and her mother came to our house to say goodbye. You all have been very kind to us all the time. We will never forget, no matter what. Her mother thanked us many times. Oh no, it's okay. It was my pleasure to have her with us. If you are in trouble, we help each other, so please don't worry about it. My mother responded, a person of strong sense of justice and kindness, whom I respect very much. I don't remember what conversation I had with Maria at that time, and I have never seen her since that day. We sent Christmas cards every year, but that stopped after 5 or 6 years. Then I graduated from university and got a job at a precision machinery manufacturer. I was assigned to the sales department, and this year will be my 3rd year. I took over some business, developed new ones, and now I am in charge of a number of clients. Good morning, Brian. Mr. Flores, a senior employee sitting next to me, calls out. Good morning. Tomorrow we have a business meeting with our client, AB Electric. It's a big deal that could shake the company's future, so let's get into it. Are other preparations already made? I asked. Yes, please check them later, he replied. While we were talking, his clerk called Mr. Flores. Mr. Flores, AB Electric is on the phone, he said. As soon as Mr. Flores picked up the phone, his face turned pale. What? That can't be. Yes, I see. I'm sorry, I need to. Right now? What? Oh no, please. Please can you give us one more chance. Wait a minute. After the call was disconnected, he remained in a daze, still holding the receiver. What's wrong? I called out to him. Mr. Flores turned to me and said, Brian, you told AB Electric the wrong day and time for the meeting, didn't you? They thought the meeting was yesterday. They were furious. They think we cancelled the meeting without notifying them. This deal is over. It's all your fault. What? But it was you contacting them about the schedule, wasn't it? I wanted to say those words back to him, exactly as they were. In the first place, I didn't contact the client about the schedule. Mr. Flores adjusted his schedule and told me about it later, and now he was trying to blame it on me. Mr. Flores reported this to his supervisor, and the section manager went to apologize to AB Electric on his behalf, but it was too late. In the end, the deal with AB Electric failed. When the section manager, Mr. Wood, came back, he said to me, Brian, what have you done? Because of you, an important deal for the company's future has been ruined. What the hell are you going to do about it? But Mr. Wood, it wasn't me contacting them about the schedule. It was Mr. Flores. Shut up. Don't make excuses. You've caused damage to the company. You're going to get fired, he said. Mr. Wood had a habit of talking about firing when he was angry. Wait a minute, I don't want to quit my job, I protested. Then go get a contract from the same amount of money that we were going to sell to AB Electric within 3 days. Otherwise, you're fired. That's impossible. Within 3 days is impossible. I thought at a loss. But then I suddenly remembered there was a customer who was considering buying the same machine as we were selling to AB Electric. That company was always stingy with the price and kept trying to negotiate a discount. I had half given up on the idea that they were not interested in buying anymore, but now I had no choice but to get the company to sign the contract at any cost. I hastily revised the quotation and made an appointment with the client. When I arrived at the client's company, Mr. Jones, who was in charge, greeted me. I have a new quotation for you today, I said, presenting the quotation. Mr. Jones took it in his hand and looked at it, then suddenly asked, Well, can't you give us a lower price? It is indeed difficult to go any further. We have already adjusted the price many times, I replied. I made a troubled expression and pleaded with Mr. Jones. Please, Mr. Jones, our equipment will definitely be useful to your company. We will do regular maintenance for you too. Mr. Jones folded his arms and groaned. Even so, my superiors won't give me the okay at this price. I'd like to bite if I could, you know. If that's the case, could you please give me a chance to explain the situation to your boss? I asked. I think that would be difficult, "My boss is very busy," he replied. "Please give me a chance. Please let me talk over dinner or something," I pleaded desperately. "If it sells, it will cost a couple of $100,000 per unit. If this equipment sells well, the company would probably be willing to pay a small entertainment fee." "I understand. I'll ask him and see what he says. My boss is out of the office right now, so I'll get back to you later," Mr. Jones said. "That's fine. I look forward to hearing from you," I responded. Mr. Jones saw me off, and we left the reception room. Just then, the elevator opened, and an elderly man entered the office. "Oh, that's my boss, Mr. Green, just in time. May I have a word with you?" Mr. Jones ran up to him as soon as he saw his boss. I thought, so this is Mr. Jones' boss. Mr. Jones explained the situation to Mr. Green, the department manager. Then, to my surprise, Mr. Green suddenly started yelling at me. "Do you really think a bar dinner or entertaining us will sell the deal with your company? How many times do I have to tell you that we can't buy at that price? If you can't get a better price, get the hell out of here and don't come back." I wondered if I had done something so bad to be yelled at like this. While I was puzzled, Mr. Jones pushed my back and secretly whispered in my ear, "I'm sorry, my boss seems to be in a bad mood today. He always takes it out on someone when he's in a bad mood." Apparently, this department manager had a very nasty personality. "But if I don't get his okay, the deal won't go through. If I don't get this contract, I will be fired," I thought. As I was pondering what to do, I heard footsteps coming from the corridor, clicking on my heels. "Wait a minute, Mr. Green." I heard a young woman's voice and turned around. There stood a beautiful woman in a suit. "Miss Cox, may I help you with something?" She stepped gingerly in front of the department manager, who tilted his head. "Mr. Green, I have looked at that company's informational materials, and I think their equipment would be useful for our company. I hope you will positively consider purchasing it," she said, looking Mr. Green straight in the eye. "Oh, well, if Miss Cox says so, then by all means let's purchase it. Go ahead with the contract procedure right away." Mr. Green turned to me and said. I couldn't reply right away. For a moment, I didn't understand what had happened. "Well, are you saying that you want to purchase it?" I asked. "Yes, I do. I can't deny the president's daughter's request," I said. "The president's daughter." When I looked at her, she smiled and said, "Brian, long time no see. Do you remember me?" Even as she said so, I didn't think I knew any president's daughter. But as I stared at her face, I began to feel as if I had seen her somewhere before. Who was she? She called out to me again, "Would you recognize me if I said Maria Hurst?" Do you mean that Maria Hurst who used to come to my house and play with me when we were in elementary school?" I couldn't believe it. She looked so beautiful and different. "Oh, it's been a long time, like 15 years, I exclaimed. "Yes, it has been like that," she agreed. "I saw your business card attached to the file and thought it might be you." "You're right, but you're the president's daughter?" I asked, still in disbelief. "Actually, my mother remarried when I was in high school. I use my new father's last name." "I know it's unusual," she explained. "I didn't know that," I admitted. "Hey, I don't want to stand around here talking. If you want, why don't we go out for a drink tonight to catch up?" she suggested. "Sure, let's do it," I agreed. We exchanged contact information right then and promised to go out for a drink after work that day. When I returned to the office, I reported my results. Mr. Wood was wide-eyed and surprised. "Did you really get the contract?" "Yes, I did. We haven't received the contract yet, but we did get the go-ahead from the department manager," I replied. Mr. Wood was delighted. I looked at Mr. Flores and saw him hiding uncomfortably at his desk. That night after work, I headed to the bar where I was meeting Maria. When I arrived, Maria was already there, waiting for me. "Thank you for your help today. Thanks for saving my life." "Thanks to you, I didn't get fired," I said to her. "What do you mean?" she asked. I told her what had happened, and she sympathized with me. "It's terrible of him to blame his own failure on a colleague," she said. Yeah, well, but I'm glad I got the business deal thanks to you. Really, thank you. I expressed my gratitude. Maria smiled shyly. I am honored if I could help you. I'm the one who has always been grateful to you. We've been apart since I moved away, but I'm glad to see you again, she shared. Maria told me that after her mother got divorced, her mother began dating a man who was the manager of the sales office where she worked at the time, and later they got married. A few years later, her husband's father, the president of the New York headquarters, fell ill, and the family moved here to succeed him as president. You should have told me if you came back, I said. Sorry, but you stopped responding to my Christmas greeting cards first, didn't you? She pointed out. Me? Is that right? I was surprised. That's right. That's why I thought maybe you had a girlfriend or something, so I was holding back, she explained. I see. I don't have any girlfriend, I admitted. What? You don't have a girlfriend? She asked. No, I don't, I replied. Then isn't it some kind of fate that we met here again? Don't you think? If you like, let's go on a date, she suggested. I was so surprised by her sudden confession that I froze on the spot, but of course I didn't mind. In fact, I was happy. When I was in elementary school, I enjoyed being with her, and when she laughed, for some reason it made me happy too. I remember that feeling. Of course, gladly, I responded, holding out my right hand in front of her. She tentatively took it. Really? She asked. And thus Maria and I started dating, and 2 years later, I proposed to her and we got married. Charlotte, dinner is ready, I called out, watching her play with her cat. She looked exactly the same as she did in her childhood. She went through a lot of hardships when she was a child. I want to be there to support her and make her happy from now on.